And he was just like, you know what? What could possibly go wrong in this scenario?
Me, MaLu, and welcome back to another episode of Heck No, a Naked and Afraid podcast, and we're focusing on apocalypse. I'm one of your hosts, MaLu Beyonce.
And I'm your
And basically, if you're new here, which you shouldn't be, we talk about Naked and Afraid, and right now we're focusing on apocalypse. It's been a wild ride. Some are calling it the Joe Show. I kind of like the Joe Show because guess what? They opened up on who again?
They opened up on Joe.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the show, but first, before we get started, I really want to talk to you, Gabe. I saw some Facebook photos with you and a couple of guys from Naked and
Oh my
Afraid.
God.
Who was that?
You mean Sailor Moon and Sailor Venus that I met at
Yeah.
DragonCon? I mean, so what happened was there is a convention in Georgia by the name of DragonCon where it's pretty much where a bunch of nerds do nerd things. And I remember I posted about a year ago a photo from a panel where there were some actors from the show What We Do in the Shadows. And Johnny Yates from season 18 of Naked and Afraid responded saying, I was in that same panel too. And so we started talking, and a little bit later down the line, I learned that he was going to DragonCon. And not only was he going, but Jake Nodar was also going to DragonCon as well. So my first thought was I need to find them and I need to get photos because this is the year that I'm meeting all the Naked and Afraid survivalists. And so, well,
Hang on, I'm going to interrupt you
okay.
because we know Gabe, everybody. I'm going to interrupt Gabe. He's used to it.
Yeah.
So, did y'all have a preset meetup or was it by chance?
Well, oh gosh, I don't want to be shady or anything, but I tried to kind of set a pre-date kind of setup going on, but Johnny was really busy and Jake is so popular. I don't think he ever saw the message that I sent him. So I was just like, okay, we'll figure this out when we get there. And so both times that I did interact with them, it was kind of an accident because I was walking to one of the sky bridges and I see this sparkly, glittery gold outfit kind of catch the corner of my eye, and I was just kind of like, huh, that's an interesting out. Wait a second. And then I see this handsome Roman god also walking next to him, and I didn't want to stare or anything, but I was looking and I was just like, holy guacamole, that's Jake and Johnny. So I'm just kind of like, with all the crowds and stuff. And this is Thursday, so it's like one of the least crowded times. And I'm trying to like maneuver and I'm like, Johnny. And then, he turns around. I pass out for a second. And so I basically get to meet Johnny and Jake. And
You locked eyes with Johnny and you say his name and he turns and he looks at you. Did he know who you were?
yes, he was like, oh, Gabe. And so I think
He said your name,
yes.
and then after he said your name, did you go running into his arms and jump on him, or is that just something that I would do?
I think that's something that you and my friend Brittany and all my other friends would do, but I'm like a 6'2" guy who like has wiggly arms and is kind of awkward. So I feel like if I did that, it would just boom. And then or this slight tangent, I remember when I was like it was like 20 years ago. I remember my mom, sister, and I came back from a trip, and my dad was there to meet us at the airport. And I was just so happy to see my dad. I jump up and I smack my dad in the face. And he has red body juices coming out of his nose, and he was wearing a white shirt. And so basically, that's why I didn't like run and jump. And also, I don't think Johnny would have liked me doing that. But I was just like, Johnny, next time, if I ever see Johnny next time, I'd be like, "Hey, Malu wants me to leap into your arms. Can someone like film this real quick and see how that goes?" And Jake was just kind of like, "Oh, a person." And then it was really funny because when I entered or when I was meeting Jake, he's like, "Oh, I'm Jake Nodar," and I was like, and my brain just kind of like short circuited for a second, and I just went, "I no."
Who you
But
are, Jake.
but it's just like Jake doesn't know how fan. I really wanted to be like, wow, it's so nice that these super cool naked and afraid survivalists are here. But I don't think a lot of people would have known or would have. I don't know if a lot of people would have known or been paying attention. But I was a little bit
So
starstruck. So
okay, so I don't really. So when I'm doing podcasting, I try really hard not to talk to the survivalists that's in the current season. It's really hard, and I don't watch other people's podcasts or reviews about the show because I think it influences me. So I don't pay a lot of attention to Jake when I'm podcasting because he has his own podcast in his own right. It's amazing because I listened to it after the fact. How was he in? What did he give you, a hug? Was it a handshake? What was it?
It was a handshake. I did try to say, hey, one of our mutual friends wanted me to make you jealous, and they were just like, we'll take a selfie and give handshakes. And I'm like, cool. I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but I won't say it here because then people might think I'm a weirdo, and I don't want people to be like, ha, we have proof. I just want them to think that I'm a little bit of a weirdo. But that was the first time that I saw them, and I wasn't really able to ask them too many questions about anything. Mainly, how's your con, and have you been recognized for things? And the first time I met them, they still hadn't gotten their badges yet, so they still had to get theirs, and I had gotten mine. So, of course, we separated from one another, but afterwards I was just like, huh, this is nice.
So what was the best part about meeting Johnny?
Just a nice person, just kind of being like, just being around the nice charisma and just seeing him smile and just being like, hey, what's going on, happy to or he didn't know if he was going to be able to make it to con, so luckily he did. So it was just kind of his or vibes. He had good vibes.
And did he give you a hug?
No,
Hang on.
but I don't hold that against him.
Well, I am.
Oh,
Johnny, what's his last name? Yates? Johnny Yates. I'm telling you right now, buddy. That's right. If I ever see you in person and I don't get a hug, it's going to be on. I may look weak, but I am strong. And I will summon the forces that be. Because if I ever see you, I want a hug. And how dare you? And I use the word dare you not hug my boy Gabe. I know that's, and I'm just kidding, but I will take you down, Johnny. I'm just kidding in a lot of senses, but some people aren't huggers, some people are. I was your selfie. Do I have permission to drop your selfie in the
Yeah,
pod?
you have permission to use all the photos with those two in them.
It was lovely. So they're friends. They're hooking up together. Behind the scenes, they have made friends. Not hooking up like that. I mean, I'm not. That's not what I meant. I'm 100% sure that when I asked Johnny, and I did ask Johnny, if he was straight, he did tell me that he was straight. So I don't want to give any intentions or lead anybody on that, that he's not straight, but that's what he told me. And that's what he told me too. Because a lot of people were asking. I mean, let's just put it out there. A lot of people were asking. I asked him how he wanted to be labeled, and he said straight. Whatever. But they were very cute. They were twinsies.
For the second outfit, I guess they were not really twinsies, but they were wearing outfits from characters from the same universe, where Jake was, of course, Sailor Moon because he's the more emotional one who's the main character, and Johnny was Sailor Venus, who I can't remember her specific powers, but I think that's something to do with heart. And I think her in one of the like recent iterations of Sailor Moon, she's voiced by one of my favorite voice actresses. So I'm like, cool, Sailor Venus. And so I just remember it was so random because I was hanging out with friends in the Hilton and we were waiting for some other friends. And I just kind of look out into the distance and I see blonde wigs and like the top half of their white outfits. And I think Johnny saw me first and he was just like, he like gave a nod to me. And so I just took that as an invite to just like walk on over and I'm like, hello. How are you? We are such good friends. Have you been recognized for your shows? And stuff like that.
Well, I mean, so I make a lot of jokes and everything, and I've been on the show. I'm not very close with a lot of the cast. I am close, but not very close. But just because I don't even have a Walmart where I live. But I do feel like as much time and dedication as we do in supporting not only the show, but every contestant, we support everybody. Even when we have something negative to say about some actions or the way the show portrayed, we support every single fan. And I think we do a good job at it. So y'all need to give us some love, right? Like when you see us in person, we definitely want, that recognition. I keep knocking on Wes's door and he won't answer. So hello, Wes. No, I'm just kidding. Wes is great. So let's keep going on with the traction. So was it everything that you thought? You were at some kind of geek Comic-Con, DragonCon fest. They were dressed up as characters. You were not dressed up as characters. They were super nice. When you walked away from the situation, did you feel like you knew them a little bit better? Was Jake as funny in person? Was Johnny as sweet as pie in person? When you walked away from it, what were your impressions of them?
Well, my first thought is I wish I could hang out with them more, but unfortunately the timing is wrong. And I think Jake was a little bit more subdued than he is on TV because I think sometimes on like RuPaul's Drag Race and stuff, the way that the contestants are on the show are not them in real life. On the show, it's kind of either a more heightened version of themselves where their charisma is cranked up, or the edit shows all the moments where their charisma is cranked up. And Jake is very charismatic, but compared to how he has been on the shows, I would say he was more subdued. It's not to say he was just like quiet standing in the corner, but he was very like he was more subdued, if that makes sense.
So he wasn't carrying a chicken and cut off shorts and saying funny things and drinking wine out of a purse. It wasn't that big character, is what you're saying.
Correct. He did say a few funny things, and he did have a beverage with him. Unfortunately, it was not wine, and unfortunately, animals are not allowed unless they're service animals. But he could have had like a stuffed chicken. But I think that he and Johnny should have worn matching rompers for the Rooster Whisperer kind of cosplay thing. But I don't know if he did that one of the other days or what. But I think Jake was more subdued than his on television persona, and Johnny was very chill. He was very much kind of how you saw him on TV. From the minimal interaction I had.
Well, one time I was on a sales call and I was talking the way I normally talk in a sales call, whatever. And then about 10 minutes into this sales call, the lady goes, "You are that girl from Naked and Afraid." I wasn't sure, but that's you. I can tell by the way you're projecting. So I think that it comes across. Yes, I'm not always up. I was in a very professional setting. I was on the middle of a sales call, but still that little excited bubbliness comes out. And when you're on camera, yes, I'm not saying you cheese it up for the camera, but you're on your best behavior. And then they take all your boring parts and they put those on the cutting room floor. So when you're up and about and happy and stuff is what they show. And that leads us directly into this week's show topic. What's up with you, Joe? Do you think Joe is as grisly as he's being shown? Do you think he's playing it up? Or do you think stuff is ending up on the cutting room floor, Gabe? Because how would you explain Joe's attitude in this episode?
I think he is... Okay, words. I need to think about this because I go on tangents. But I think that because he's so used to being alone, he was kind of in a similar environment on his last challenge. He's kind of like, okay, I kind of know how things go. I trust that my shelter is tough enough. If I yell into the distance during the night, then the animals around will be like, we don't like this. We're going that way. Maybe there are a few moments where it's just kind of like, he's like, I'm going to be safe during this. I can kind of like have a little bit of fun or crank it up a little bit for camera. But I just think he kind of is just like, I'm confident in what I'm doing and I'm just going to keep doing it because it seems to be working. Kind of thing. And he's by himself, so he could be like...
Well, what about when he's not by himself? What do you think about his personality? I mean, his personality is a little, what? Standoffish, hard, tough, grisly? I mean, what do you think his personality is like?
I think he was a little bit more stoic when Waz and Teal were there. That's how I would describe his...
You know how I would describe it?
How?
I would describe his personality as being recasted, because he's definitely making another appearance on Naked and Afraid. The way that he's acting, whatever word you want to put on it, whether it's, tough, rude, stoic, selfish, whatever word it is, you're coming back, Joe. If you want to come back, it's yours to come back. I'm sure they've already offered him another one to come back because he is making this show. So let's go ahead and talk about the first thing, which is him yelling at the elephant. I'm going to give you the floor first, but before I do, let's talk about Joe losing his marbles and yelling at an elephant.
Gosh, I think he just kind of had enough at that point, and he was just like, you know what? What could possibly go wrong in this scenario? There are probably rangers behind him, and he's just like, I'm just gonna stare down this elephant and see what happens. It'll cause some tension. It could be used for a trailer, and he's
It was
probably.
great.
It was really good TV because it's kind of like.
Oh, now remember, we're super fans, Joe. Everybody who's watching this, the people that are listening, if you're a super fan, you understand what we're talking about. Don't take offense, Joe. So, Gabe, you think that there's rangers there. And are you saying that you think there's rangers behind him or somewhere in the vicinity, and that's giving him the confidence to yell at an elephant? Is that what you're thinking?
A little bit. I'm sure even if they, I mean, like during the night he yelled off into the darkness. So he's
I'm talking about
weird, but
when
yeah.
he's standing there in front of the elephant. I'm sorry. I want to
Okay.
address this because this is what regular fans are looking at. They're looking at him standing in front of a 3 ton, however many tons an elephant is, and yelling at it. Do you think that there were rangers behind him when he was doing that?
Yes.
And since you think that, do you think that is the reason why he had enough confidence to act in such a way?
Yes.
I think this is going to cause controversy. I have not been on Facebook or any social this week, but him yelling at that elephant, are people saying it was wise, not wise, a setup, no real danger? What are people saying in general, not just on your page, but in general?
A lot of the stuff I've mainly seen is I think there has been at least one person who said like there are probably people with firearms behind him, but they're also I don't know how to put this like in a PG way, but they're mainly talking about the fact that the elephant is a bull elephant, if that makes any sense. It's like that is a bull elephant kind of thing, if you know what I mean. That's mainly what people are talking about and like sharing pictures of it. And I'm just like, I don't need to. We know it's a bull elephant. It's fine. It's fine. Just move on. I don't know.
Are they talking about the elephant's private parts? Is that taking center stage? Is that what it is? Are they taking that? Are they saying anything that the bull elephant's going to do something to Joe, or are they just pointing out that the elephant's well endowed?
The second one.
All right, so this is my thoughts about him yelling at the elephant the first time. He's very proud of himself. He mentions it later on. He brags about it. And I truly do believe he's proud of himself. I truly believe that's something to be proud of yourself if you're Joe. What I don't believe is, have you never been on Naked and Afraid and your plane crashed in that area where there's elephants? I don't think he would have done that in the way that he did it. I think you might, I don't think he would have done it. I think if you plane crash, you're really out there naked and afraid and you're 100% alone, I don't think he would have done that. What do you think, Gabe?
I agree with you. I think there, in this specific case, he was emboldened to go a little bit farther. Not to say that I don't like him for it, but I'm just like worried about his safety. And I'm just like, I want to trust your judgment, but just please be careful, Joe. It's the Joe show. We can't have a Joe show without Joe.
We can't have the Joe show without Joe. I think the producers, the cameramen, the regular fans, the super fans, I think everybody loved it. Good for you, Joe. You got that. I mean, even just to have that opportunity, whether there's Rangers a football field away or no Rangers, you have the opportunity to do it. And you were placed in that opportunity. And I think it's really amazing. I would have been scared out of my briefs. But as I mentioned before we move on, I really do think that these animals are used to humans. This is not their first time seeing them. So, not taking anything away from you, Joe. I don't think it was wise. Gabe doesn't want you to die. I don't want you to die. I think that you were in a situation where if something did happen, if that bull elephant would have charged at you, it would have been dangerous, but you would have been okay. That's what I think about the situation they're in. I don't think it was okay to do that. But moving on, what else do you want to talk about?
Well, I know a lot of people online have been talking about Stephen Lee Hall Jr. a little bit. I don't. But there was someone, I believe, on Reddit that someone reposted on one of the fan pages that was not true fans that said that Stephen Lee Hall Jr. needs to have his legend card revoked based off of his performance so far in the season. And People are like, Frank is going to be a legend and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the main thing people are talking about and talking about Steven's leadership and stuff that happened during the episode. And I'm just like, I wouldn't go that far. I think that's a little bit too far to like revoke someone legendary status, especially someone who has never been on the show saying such things.
I mean, I know firsthand that they can make someone who's doing a ton of work look weak. I know that for a fact. So you heard it here first. I know firsthand that someone who is super strong can be made to look super weak and vice versa. You can't take away Steven's legend card. He doesn't deserve to have his legend card taken away. I don't understand why people are even saying this. What specifically, Gabe, have they portrayed on the show that would make Steven look in a bad light?
I believe a lot of people have been saying that he has been lazy and he may not be contributing to the group a lot, or he's not really mentoring them. And a lot of people have said that he seems checked out this season and that maybe he's like, I can definitely survive in this environment without doing too much. That's what they've been saying. And so they're like, oh, he's being lazy. We should revoke his legendary status. He has the most days, but I don't care about that. I want his legendary status revoked. Revoke his legendary. That's basically what they've been doing. And it's just like.
Well, I don't really talk to Alexa that often. She's very nice, but I don't talk to her. And I don't really know Frank that well. Have they stood up for him on social media anywhere that you've noticed, or?
I'm pretty sure they have. I know Steven posted about them and saying they were really great partners, and I'm sure they have posted it. I just don't remember, unfortunately, but I don't think that they would like throw Steven under the bus or just not say anything.
Well, let's talk about Steven, Alexa, and Frank. We went from being worried about Alexa tapping because it was brutal and it was cold. Now we're talking about Frank, who's, overworking himself. He's ill. I knew as soon as they made that comment about doing too much or something that, Alexa Steven made a comment that maybe he shouldn't go out this time or something. I knew right then and there he was going to get sick, didn't you?
Yeah. When Steven was like, hey, make sure to stay cool. It's really hot out right now and it's the middle of the day. It's over 100 degrees. I was just like, oh, Frank.
Yeah, they're giving him advice. And he goes out there anyway. He does his own thing. And he gets really, really sick. I am surprised that he was able to pull it through. And then, is there anything else that we need to talk about before we get to them traveling?
I mean, the fact that they travel like 2 days after Frank had to get med checked for heat exhaustion and was told to relax and stay hydrated is probably the only point I can think of.
So what I'm going to say about the migration in 2 days, I'm going to say two things. Number one, they might have already had the migration planned, due to the production schedule. And secondly, maybe it wasn't as bad as we thought. I don't know. It just was not wise. I want to talk about his pack. So you want to talk about being a legend? There's so much wrong about that scenario in his pack. What did you think about his pack?
I think it was a lot of stuff. When I was doing my internship at Ace AmeriCorps, I learned firsthand what happens when you have a really heavy pack and traveling through not treacherous environment, but just like a really hot, not so great environment. It can take a lot out of you. And I was like fully fed and stuff, and I was just like, ugh, in that scenario. And he has this massive pack, and they're walking through, and he's just like, I'm tired, but we gotta keep going.
And that's one thing I thought was really weird, the way they kind of showed it. If there was anything that we could criticize, maybe, is Steven's trudging ahead. He's keeping that pace. Alexa's close behind him, and Frank is really, way back. When I was out there behind Omar and John, there was times that I could barely make out their bouteilles. They would be so far in front of me. But I had a cameraman with me, so it wasn't a big deal. But he's getting so far behind. I am noticing little spots of shade. They say there's no shade out there, and there is. There's very, very little shade. But I do see little spots of shade. They don't show him stopping. They don't show. Why did he take some of the stuff off, Gabe?
Apparently, he didn't want to leave it behind. And I also noticed that, like, they didn't even, or at least what we saw based on the edit, they didn't even try to even look for shade when they were drinking water. It's just, here, let's stop, drink water in the blazing sun. Okay, we gotta keep going. And I'm like 5 minutes. Like, was there a chance of 5 minutes where even if Frank was standing in the shade, like, he has a massive back, he's fallen far behind. You two seem to have enough energy, but I'm sure Alexa's like, okay, I trust Steven's leadership kind of thing. But I think, I don't know, even if they would have taken Steven's seat and had Frank kind of put it on his head to like get some shade, I don't know. But it could be the edit. They could have stopped in the shade, but just based on what I'm watching, I'm just like, I feel like Frank could have been a little bit more thought of in that scenario.
Yes, I think he could have spoken up some. They did an overhead shot, and when they did an overhead shot with the drone, I saw spots of shade. So unwise thing there, you're putting yourself at danger. At some point, they should have said, and maybe they did, let's stop here in the shade. Let's regroup. You have too much. Maybe we can redistribute a little bit of it, or maybe we can trade off because you're obviously struggling. I wish that would have happened. And at one point, I didn't even think Alexa had anything because she was kind of carrying it on her side like that, and it didn't look like she had anything for a while. Maybe he could have taken off 3 things inside of that pack, given one to Alexa, two to Steven. I just feel like more could have been done. And where are they going? Do you think there's a chance that they're going to end up meeting up with anybody else?
Potentially, yes, based off of what we were shown with the maps. I don't know if I want to skip ahead too much, but there's another group that was thinking of migrating, and it looks like the same group of bodies of water were similar for
Three
both.
little ones?
Yeah, I believe that was the same one. So I think there's going to be a big merge coming up, but I think Steven's group is going to make it there first.
So I don't really know what else we need to talk about besides I want to talk about, which we already did a little bit, about Joe being stubborn and not wanting to go with Teal and Waz. That's the last thing I want to talk about. The only else thing I can think to talk about of importance is maybe getting the turtles, Waz and Teal heading towards Joe. My gosh. Okay, hang on. We have to take a break. We have to talk about what the heck was going on when Joe was laying down in his blind when Waz and Teal walk up and he's like looking at him and does he have like a toothpick in his mouth? Like, is he picking his teeth like, this is my water. What are they doing? That was absolutely great TV. It was bananas, Joe, but it was great TV. What did you think about it?
Oh gosh, the people online have so much to say about that. So,
Do
Joe's
they?
being well, not a lot to say about it, but people mention it and they're like, how can you get ownership of a small water source? He shouldn't even be there. I don't like Joe because a few episodes ago he was a little snappy to someone who hit him in the head twice with a stick. But
Well, let's ignore those people.
I have a theory. I have a theory, a
Mhm.
conspiracy theory. I have lots of those. Doesn't make it true. But I believe earlier in the episode with the elephant, he might have said, "This is my watering hole" to the elephant. So maybe they took that audio and copy pasted it. And then when we see him like whispering to himself, I don't know if it's because he has his hand over his mouth or what, but it doesn't look like his mouth is moving.
Yeah, it was something weird. Was it a toothpick in his mouth?
It could have been, but it didn't look like his mouth was moving. And they do kind of zoom in on him when he's like, "This is my watering hole." And I'm just like, I just think it's kind of like well, let's build tension. What'll happen? Joe doesn't have a good track record with partners, but that's not really his fault. What's going to happen here? Let's build tension. And then I guess to get the audience worried, like, oh no, will he get along well with Waz and Teal? And so I think it was just kind of like a let's create some tension kind of moment that
Okay, well,
may not have
listen.
happened.
Joe doesn't pay my bills. I like you, Joe, but you don't pay my bills. Joe looked absolutely bonkers in that part. He looked like he was losing his god darn mind. It looked like he was plotting. Like, in my head, I was like, why is he hiding from them? Why isn't he standing up? Why is he talking very villain-like, like villain about these people walking up to the watering hole. I could not wrap my head around it. But then I thought about something. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
So Joe's over here looking at them over here. Where are the cameramen that are catching Joe from behind? They have to be somewhere right here. Wasn't Till saw those cameramen shooting. I mean, like, I think this was a little bit of a setup.
Yeah, I would like to know how long Joe was actually in his blind, kind of looking at them as they approached, and maybe they weren't in his line of sight and he saw them and he's just like, what's going on here? And then he maybe whispered a few things like, what's going on? And then like stood up because like when he approached them, he just was very stoic, kind of no emotion, just kind of like, hey, what's going on? Kind
There's
of
a
thing.
word that we need to figure out what we're going to call Joe when he in this interaction because it was weird. I don't know I don't even know if I know what the word stoic means, but I know that that's not the right word. I don't know if this was a setup, but even if it was a setup, it's great TV. Joe, it was great. Okay. I don't care if this was set up, if this is you, if you have lost your mind because you haven't had enough Cheetos chips, whatever it is. It was weird. And when he stood up, he was off putting. He was not welcoming. He was like, I don't think he was welcoming. It was great TV. What word did Teal use? Because Teal says, alone by himself for a while. She was very nice the way she
Exactly. I unfortunately can't remember, but I believe stoic means emotionless, and that's why I use that word. But I guess he seemed not tired because it's just I don't want to be that person that's like he looked tired in that moment, but I think he was just kind of like emotionally just kind of like vacant a little bit.
seemed standoffish to me. He seemed standoffish and not welcoming. But then they busted out that beef jerky, and he was like, whoa. And you know what I loved about it? Joe. See, it's the little things, Joe. I love you. I love the way they were like, yeah, help yourself. And he got two pieces. Like they didn't even he put one piece and he got his second piece. And who knows how many more pieces, but he would ask. He was just like, there's one, there's two. Joe, I love you. This is just great TV. I don't care if it's set up, it's not set up, if you're placed in the right places. We know it's not fake. What did you think about that? I mean, when he saw that meat, his eyes were like, ooh, I'm getting some.
I saw it a little bit differently, I guess. I just saw him getting that and he was like, cool, thanks so much. And I think around that time he's like, hey, I have a shelter down the way. You're welcome to stay there. And a lot of people online have been like, oh, wasn't Teal fed Joe, da 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 da, but they don't mention that Joe provided them with the shelter for the next 2 days and stuff like that. But they're just people are finding ways to nitpick Joe, and it's like, he took food from them even though it was offered, and they're feeding him and he's not doing that much in return, and it's just like
Crazy. Hang on. Let me just say this. If Waz and Teal did not offer him any of his meat, they would be all over Waz and Teal. So you can't win for losing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Joe accepting the beef jerky from them. I loved it. It was a very nice peace offering. And I think it was funny how he took two pieces. He did offer them shelter. He was not the most welcoming, warm, loving guy, but I think he was a nice hostess. And what do you think about the watering hole? And that's another thing. He was like, the water's cool. Get in. I get in it all the time. I mean, he was in his way very welcoming.
I think so too. The most emotion we see from him is kind of the first day of his first episode with Candace and just being like, hey, and like, here, I got you this stick to walk on to help protect your feet. And Candace is just like going with the long stick protecting her feet, but she only has one. So I guess he's not a super outgoing person, at least in this environment. So maybe being alone, he's kind of just like more methodical, just thinking and not being like, hello and welcome. Not to say that not to be like he's like leering at them and eyeing them up and down and being like, oh, what are you doing in my watering hole kind of thing. But I think he was very welcoming. Waz and Teal didn't seem to think he was being standoffish. They didn't say like, oh, he's kind of weird. He had,
Oh, I think they did. I think
or
they did in their own way.
yeah,
I
but
think they said it in their own. I think they said it in their own way. Even though Waz was very, giving him a lot of props about how hard it was. I don't. I think they said it without saying it. I think they said that. I think they said it without saying it. The proof is they were like, with or without Joe. We're leaving with or without Joe.
Yeah.
Teal is the one who's kind of like, well, let's really talk to him. And but let's talk about the turtles before we go. I mean, we don't really need to talk about the turtles, but let's talk about it. They swept the lake and they got turtles. I mean, some of them were really small, but I mean, when you're hungry, you're hungry. We ate a lizard that was this big. So when you're hungry, you're hungry. It was a nice, like, bonding moment, I'm sure. And I'm sure they bonded. We're just not seeing it. Don't you think they bonded?
I think they bonded, and I don't know if Joe was asked to do this, but I know when Teal and Waz were kind of dredging the pond, they talked about the amount of thorns and stuff, and Joe was the one to take all the thorn branches out of the pond and stuff, and so that was really nice, and he was helping, but people wanted to focus on, oh, Waz and Teal were the ones getting all the food and fed Joe while he didn't do anything, which is not
Well,
really
there was
true.
one point where he was in the water, like dipping himself and like just, like enjoying the water and watching them. Hello, it's a two-man job. Let's get to the juiciness of, is Joe making a wise decision of saying, well, look, I want to stay here. Why do you want to stay there, Joe? They even asked you point blank, have you seen an animal? The answer was no, I have not seen an animal, but I'm staying because I'm going to get that animal.
I have a few theories, but I don't know if he's maybe hearing the audience in the back of his mind saying they're carrying you and he doesn't want to deal with that. Maybe
Okay, that's
just,
option number one.
and then there's the second option of he does want to find a successful line to like prove to himself that he can make it out there because he has been practicing with the bow and arrows. Number three is he just wants to be alone for as long as he can and then maybe make that hike to the three water sources together like a day or two before the end. So it could be like, hey, I only had this little bit of food, but I managed to make this walk and I'm here and I'm incredibly tough and no one can doubt my abilities to endure the harshness of this environment.
Okay, so we have your three options. I'm going to throw in the option number four, and we need to come up with a clever, clever name for this. And you can help me come up with a name for it because it's stubborn Seth syndrome. Because all you care about is getting that kill when there's so much more that is more important, in my opinion. And you lose common sense of things when you have the stubborn sense syndrome. Tunnel vision, focusing on a kill. Those are the four options. I don't know which option is. Maybe Joe can come on here and tell us what option is. Welcome you. Yes, we want to know.
We're your biggest fans here. We think you're great. It's the Joe Show. We haven't even
We really
mentioned.
did.
I mean, we haven't even mentioned Stephen Kelly and Wes at all through this entire podcast. Oh my! And I was,
I'm so
how
sorry.
could you forget Zaddy? Not Zaddy, but
Okay, so listen. Let's talk about Zaddy.
that's great. Good for him.
He looks great. When they were making the Wiggly tin thing, they put the first piece of tin in. And I'm just like, there's a big hole right there next to the bank. What are y'all doing? That was the first thing I know. I was like, and this is my armchair survivalist speaking. I'm like, why are y'all even doing that? And then they start handing over these big rocks later on to kind of fill that hole. It was bananas. It made no sense to me. It made no sense. But God darn it, they got a fish, didn't they?
Yes, that Stephen was so excited that he's like, it's on land. I don't know, but I was very happy for him in that moment, and that really boosted their spirits because Wes was very kind of, I don't know, with the dangers around us, we're not getting any food. It's a lot right now, but luckily their plan worked. They got a fish, and then we don't see them for the rest of the episode, and this is like halfway through. There's like one small little scene near the end, and I'm just like, that's unfortunate.
I mean, and Zabby, obviously Zabby is like one of my favorites. It just was not their show this week. I mean, that's all I can say. They just were not a big significant part of the show. I am happy to see that Zaddy's bouncing back from his down in the dumps kind of place that he was in. Joe decides not to go with Waz and Teal. What do you think is going to happen?
There are still moments in the trailer that we have yet to see of Joe, so I think Well, maybe he's just like, I'm gonna put on like a little one man show for a little bit before I leave because there's in the promo image or in the promo image for the season, the photo for the first episode on like streaming and during the commercial, there's something he's doing a dance by a fire kind of thing. So maybe he's just like, I am planning a big production. It is a one man show, one man Joe show, and I cannot have anyone around who will judge me and say hilarious quotes with an Australian accent at me. So I'm just going to need this time by myself and I've got to prepare.
You know, I don't know what Joe was thinking. I think it's a great storyline. Whatever option, because I mean, there's still a chance you could go with them. I mean, there's still that small chance. But whatever Joe does, I feel like it's gonna work. It's gonna make the show good, so good. So far, Joe can do no wrong. I mean, every decision he's made thus far has led to the show being good, and that's what I care about. I care about the show being good. I do care that people are being mean to him. But I do mainly care about regular people. The regular people who watch this show are the bulk of the people who get the ratings. And when I go to my streaming service, when I go to Discovery Go, Naked and Afraid Apocalypse, every day I've gone on there has been number one. Every day. And so the regular people that are watching this show, I just wonder what they think, they think that elephant screaming fit was staged or not staged. That's what I wonder. I wonder what the regular people think. And I'm weird and a super fan, so I don't know. But I wonder, what do you think they think?
I think they think that Joe is pretty entertaining, and since they may not know behind the scenes, they may not know about the Rangers behind them, so they're like, oh wow, Joe is standing up to a freaking elephant and is like, this is my watering hole, and standing his ground, and the elephant walked away from him, and so that was amazing thing to see. What else is Joe gonna do next? What kind of crazy shenanigans will the Joe show provide for us?
Yeah.
But that's just my assumption.
Yeah, I just don't know. All right, what's up for next week's show?
Next week, episode 7, Caged and Enraged. At the last water source, an abandoned cage may be the only viable shelter. Teal and Frank both score bow wins. A second crocodile has Wes on edge.
Sounds interesting.
And I think there will be one more episode after that to round out the season.
So we're getting very close to the end. One of the options that you did not mention, do you think Joe knows he's going for the title of most days by himself? And that's why he decided not to leave?
That's a possibility because with the 3 days that are the 2 to probably 3 days he only has 32 days alone currently. Because I consider the days because some people are considering, sorry, hold on words, because Waz said that Joe was alone for 17 days, but I don't count the days that, like, his partners left him as, like, official days. So I start the count at day 5 and then ended at day 20 because day 21 was when Waz and Teal showed up. So any day, at any point, if there is a partner around, I don't consider that a day alone. So maybe since he mentioned it, they know that Joe has a high number of days alone, but I think that could be a possibility. He only has 8 more days, and then he will steal that title away from Tara, and I can't remember the other person, but...
Well, we are going to try to get Joe on the show. Joe, please come on. We have a lot of questions that we need answers to. Do we have a quick game for today?
Yes. I have the ranking game. I can do 2 of them. If you would like. I also wanted to mention that Stephen Lee Hall Jr., Alexa, and Frank, when they got to the one water source, and they're like, there's a hippo. Wow. Gonna go to the water's edge. Wow, look at those hippos over there. That's dangerous. And it's like, get away from the water's edge if there's a hippo in the water. I mean, gosh. I remember on Chaos Theory, a spinoff of Confrontation, which is a spinoff of Jurassic World, where the campers were in Africa and there was a hippo that took on a Suchomimus, and you'll just have to watch to see how that turned out. But the hippo was holding its own. But yeah, stay away from the water's edge.
What's the ranking game?
The first round is I kind of want you to guess the theme, but the first round is the 4 survivors are you, Matt Garland, Jake Nodar, and Johnny Yates. Who of those 4 Would you like to see return for another challenge?
Same again, not me. And who else?
Matt Garland, Jake Nodar, and Johnny Yates. And I want you to try to guess the theme of this ranking or this selected survivalist as well.
I have no idea what this thing could be. Let me think. Which one would I like to see?
Yep.
I'm gonna have to say Jake.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the most entertaining of all of them. And the fact that we know that he said he's not coming back, he said he was retired, makes me want to see him more. Oh, what's that face? Do you know some tea? Is he coming back?
No. For producers out there, I was not able to ask them any questions pertaining to Naked and Afraid. That was not the reason for my facial expression. Johnny Yates and Jake Nodor have told me nothing about the show or whether they're coming back. I would like to be there for the record. Science as my witness. The face was when you were saying how Jake is retired, but I don't believe survivalists when they say they're retired, because so many times they're like, oh, I think I'm retired, I think I'm done, but then we see them pop up again, or a little bit later they're like, I want to come back. There are only a few who I kind of believe are like fully retired, and those are the people that are like, I'm done with the show. And then also Melissa Miller, who says she's retired, and I'm like, I believe her. She's doing her knife business stuff. I don't think she really wants to come back, but yeah, I hear someone saying retired, I'm like, we'll see them again. Because I think Laura said she was retired, and Jeff and EJ have said they're retired, but have afterwards said that they want to come back, so... There are probably a few others, but I'm like, I don't believe it.
I don't know. Okay, so what was the theme? Because I did not guess it.
The theme was... the theme was survivalists I've met in real life.
Okay, so survivalists you met in real life. And those are the only four. Me, we had lunch at IHOP, right? Was it IHOP?
Yeah, I believe IHOP.
And then Matt Garland, where'd you meet him?
We met in Milledgeville, Georgia, because he was doing work of about an hour and a half, or he was kind of staying in Georgia to do work there, and so he and I just decided to meet up. And I also met his coworker Jared, who is also a fan of the show and has been to a lot of the cast meetups. And
is he have dark hair
and a beard? Yeah.
Yes, I know Jared. I've met Jared in person as well. And now Johnny and Jake. I'm so jealous.
Okay. Well, I mean, you've met more survivalists than I have, but at least I get to hold that over everyone's head for a while. Like, I met Johnny and Jake, and they're so nice, and Johnny's mustache and Jake's face. I don't know. Yeah,
well, I mean, they're obviously friends, so that's something to be a little bit jealous of, that they're, close friends, that they go to Comic-Con or whatever it is together.
Yeah.
All right, so now it's my turn.
Oh, gosh.
And this is still sealed nice and tight. I have not opened it. And I need you to be my witness, Gabe. I've told you about this for how long? I mean, it's been about 3 weeks. This has been sitting. My gosh.
Ernie and
I've never, of course, Ernie would be the one that has his partner on his autograph card. Couch to Cave. MaLu.
Ernie's just the best.
But there's no way that Ernie wrote this. Look how nice that handwriting is. No way he wrote this. He hired somebody to write that. That's not his signature.
Ernie, you need to come on the podcast and write a note to show that is your handwriting.
That's right. Good bait, Gabe. That's the way we'll get him on the podcast.
Oh, God.
So I have a little Ernie news, and I think this is not,
He's going to be in a Marvel film in England. Just kidding.
Thank Ernie. Thank you very, very much. I did not forget about you. I hadn't mentioned it. It was because I was waiting to open it up on air, and I wanted to see it on air. It is truly beautiful, and I would not expect anything less from one of my favorite fans on Naked and Afraid, the fan challenge. He is truly, I think, probably my favorite fan. Besides Dan Link.
Dan Link is like at the top of the list of survivors I want to meet, because I'm like, tell me about your conservation efforts on that island in Hawaii that I can't pronounce it because I'm not looking at the name right now. Tell me. But yeah.
I mean, let's go to Hawaii and we'll meet him. I mean, I'll set it all up. We'll make a trip for next summer. All right. Ernie has joined a police force. He was a police officer in the past, and he has joined the force again. He is serving and protecting his community, and that's a really great thing. So thank you so much for your service on the force. Thank you for providing us with so much entertainment. I would love to see Ernie back on another episode. I don't know if he's going to be on one or not, but he would definitely be one of the top fans to go back, I think, personally.
Oh gosh, should I do a selected survivalist with some fan survivalists who haven't come back yet? Bill, Billy, Elsa, and Raven. I'm just kidding.
Who is Raven?
Omar's first partner.
I know you didn't. I wonder
I
if she wants to come back.
Yeah, I haven't heard any. I know, like a few months ago, someone was criticizing Raven, or people were criticizing Raven on the True fans, and I think she is one of the individuals who gets unnecessary hate. But if she wants to come back, then just bring her back. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, bring her back too. All right. Well, hey, listen, this was a great episode. We're getting close to the end of Naked and Afraid Apocalypse, which is making me very, very sad. What's going to be after Apocalypse, do you think? A break and then what?
I think it's going to be similar to what happened last year after Last One Standing, where we didn't get anything until March. But I think I saw somewhere on the True Fans page, for context, there was a fan challenge of influencers that had access to phones to make videos. And I believe someone posted one of those survivalist videos and said that at least his episode is airing February of 2026. I don't know if that will be the season premiere, but at least I think February is at least something that we know that we'll have more Naked and Afraid content.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Heck No. Please like, follow, subscribe. We're doing better. We're going to get better at making these a little bit more professional. Maybe not this season, but we're getting there. Right, Gabe?
Yeah, so professional.
Did anyone ever answer our question? I have not been on social at all.
I think there were a few people who said that was Gary during one of the XLs. I think on the
But they didn't get the episode.
They did not. They've just been
Okay,
saying
yeah.
Gary was the one who said that.
So I'm Al. I'm MaLu Beyonce, and this is
Gabe.
All right, we'll see y'all next time.